Welcome to City Vibes, your number one place for Manchester City match updates, transfer news, and behind-the-scenes training action. If you love City as much as we do, you're in the right place. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to stay connected with everything happening at the City Vibes. Let's go, citizens! January transfers: Antoine Semenyo, Rayan Ait-Nouri, Manchester City. Questions answered. Your Manchester City questions answered as our chief City writer, Simon Bajkowski, delves into the latest on the January window. There's never a shortage of Manchester City topics to discuss, as Pep Guardiola's men look to compete in 4 competitions this season after the disappointment of last year. We've got every game and press conference covered for you, but we also know that there is so much going on around that. That's why we are starting up regular Q&A sessions with our chief City writer, Simon Bajkowski. The day of the week it comes out on may change depending on what City's schedule looks like, but essentially this is your chance to get an answer on anything you want. Simply comment on the Q&A article when it comes out, or respond to the brand account on social media, and Simon will wrap everything up the next morning. This week we are looking ahead to the January transfer window and beyond, with City alive to a potential move for Antoine Semenyo amid competition from Liverpool and United, and also planning for longer. Here are the responses, and we will be back with another Q&A next week. More of a statement than a question to start, but I like the conviction. It has felt and been seen in the last few months that City have an excellent starting 11, but a significant drop when key players are rested. That's to be expected to some degree, but when you think of some of the squads who achieved the biggest things under Guardiola, the squad was considerably better. Rayan Ait-Nouri needs to challenge Nico O'Reilly when he comes back from AFCON. John Stones need to get fit and stay fit, and Abdulkadir Kusanov needs to find the form that he showed earlier in the season against United and Arsenal. All of those will push City closer, but are far from certain. As we've reported recently, Mark Guehi is being looked at by City, but that is for the summer, and Liverpool could pounce in January. His signing was seen as terrific when he joined, and he looked very good on debut against former club Wolves. Yes, a Wolves side that have just 2 points after 17 games, but ask Matheus Nunes how tough it can be to go back to Molineux. He got a bad injury at a bad time and has since been kept out of the team by the force of nature that is O'Reilly. Ait-Nouri has to see that as temporary, but he is the older player, so he has to make more of his opportunities when he does come into the team. I think his price point means there aren't enormous expectations on him though, and if he can start to play a role in starting some games and coming off the bench in others, that will be a valuable first season as he learns under Guardiola. Rodri is coming back whenever everyone feels Rodri is strong enough to come back. After several aborted attempts to return, a more cautious approach has been taken. Guardiola mooted the end of December when he was asked earlier in the month, but it's likely a pocket of games has already been found to reintroduce him. When he does come back, it will take time for him to get back to full speed. Despite that, I'd be surprised to see City strengthen in midfield in January. Antoine Semenyo is an active situation where City are one of multiple top clubs looking to take advantage of a release clause, and there are decisions needed on loanees Claudio Echeverri, who will definitely need a new club, and Jarmai Simpson-Pusey, who probably does need a new club. But I'm not sure the likes of Elliot Anderson or Adam Wharton are worth adding millions to their fee to try to sign them in January. Yes, the Bob situation is a real shame. It looked at the beginning of last season like he was going to make a real impact before his leg fracture, and he hasn't really shown enough since he did come back. It's been a damaging few months for him, with getting hooked at half-time of the Leverkusen defeat, left out of subsequent squads, and also criticised by his Norway manager. Something needs to change with Bob, and there may well be interest in offering him a fresh start because, as you say, the potential is there. Calvin Phillips hasn't been part of City's planning in ages, barely since his incident of returning overweight around Christmas. Guardiola mentioned an injury when he was asked about him around the Brentford League Cup game, but he has to be looking to move if he can. Forest wanted Rico Lewis in the summer, but that looks more one to return to in summer, if they still want him after their chief football officer moved to Newcastle. It's a fair shout, although I think if all three of your options for holding midfield get injured, you'd be entitled to feel luck wasn't on your side and it was an abnormal situation. Pep Guardiola body language exposes Manchester City reality, but backs up his point Manchester City were not at their best against West Ham, but got the job done as Pep Guardiola looks for his side to keep growing. For the first 20 minutes of the second half against West Ham, Pep Guardiola could be found either on his haunches or his knees, as he looked like he was being tortured by an invisible foe. The Manchester City manager is so expressive on the touchline that every West Ham pass through a City line hit him and sent his anxiety levels soaring. It was enough for him to make a triple substitution just after the hour mark, bringing on Savinho, Rico Lewis and Abdulkadir Kusanov as he looked to give his team an injection of clarity to try and get the control back in their game. Minutes later, it was 3-0 and the Blues were heading to the top of the Premier League table for the first time since the opening day when they won at Wolves. Such has been the transformation at the Etihad in a relatively short space of time. It was only 12 months ago that City's last home game before Christmas was that horrible derby defeat to a dismal Manchester United, followed by a trip to Villa Park, where it almost flattered them to be called second best. This team is still far from perfect, and if Guardiola's body language wasn't clear enough on that, in the second half he will have made sure his players know about it before their next game. But they have come an awfully long way from the side that couldn't buy a win at this point last season. The first half very much felt like a City team of old, with Erling Haaland giving City the lead inside 5 minutes against a side that played like prime candidates for relegation. The home team dominated to the point where it looked like an exhibition match at times, but only had an extra score from Tijani Reinders to show for it at the break. That could have been costly when they came out unable to shut out some belated West Ham fight. Mateus Fernandes blasted wide at the end of one move, while Jarrod Bowen twice went close to getting a goal back and making a game of it, hence Guardiola's nervousness. Ultimately, there was nothing to worry about though, and when you have a goal scorer as lethal as Haaland, he now has 19 Premier League goals in 17 appearances this season. That is